Hi, this is Jason Woodruff, founder of The Pour Over, hopping on with a correction from Wednesday's episode. We recorded the episode at 6 p.m. Central, assuming that Nikki Haley would win Nevada's Republican primary later that night. As former President Trump was not on the ballot, we believe this was the only viable outcome, but there was, in fact, an option to vote for none of these candidates, which received the most votes. I'm sorry for this error. We've updated our process to avoid similar mistakes in the future. Now, on to today's news.
Today we're talking about the Supreme Court hearing Trump's appeal to remain on Colorado ballots, recent ceasefire proposals between Israel and Hamas, Disney's big announcements, and other top news for Friday, February 9th. Stay informed while remaining focused on Christ with the Pour Over today. Here's the quote of the day. When God is about to do a mighty new thing, he always sets his people praying. Jonathan Edwards. Let's get started with some espresso shots. The Supremes seem skeptical that Colorado can boot former President Trump from its ballot. In December, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled that Trump is ineligible to run for president because of his involvement in the January 6th riot. They referenced Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which was added after the Civil War, and states that any officer of the United States who then engaged in insurrection or rebellion cannot hold public office again. Yesterday, Trump's lawyers argued his appeal before the U.S. Supreme Court by 1. Disputing that the president is an officer, 2. Contending the January 6th riot wasn't an insurrection, and 3. Asserting that only Congress can enforce Section 3. Most time was spent considering the third argument, with both conservative and liberal justices expressing concern over individual states making decisions that impact a nationwide presidential election. A ruling is expected within weeks. It's easy to only show compassion and kindness to people who agree with you on divisive topics like Trump's legal challenges. But Christians don't have the privilege of stopping there. We're called to love everyone. In John 13, verse 35, Jesus says, "By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." Israel and Hamas continue to trade peace deals. Hamas's latest counteroffer is a 135-day ceasefire, during which IDF troops would withdraw and batches of the remaining hostages would be released in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. The ceasefire would become permanent once all hostages are released. It's a no for Israel. Wednesday, Prime Minister Netanyahu called the demands delusional, saying Israel wouldn't surrender and highlighting recent battlefield success as progress toward absolute victory within months. Israel's response created tension with Secretary of State Blinken, who said he saw space for agreement in Hamas's proposal, despite some clear non-starters. Meanwhile, in Iraq, a U.S. strike in Baghdad killed a senior commander of Kataib Hezbollah, who officials say is responsible for multiple attacks on American troops in the region. War and the evil it brings out are a terrible reminder that the world is not as it should be. Seek peace wherever you are and trust that the Lord will end all war in his perfect timing. Romans 12:18-21 says, "If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, for it is written, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay,' says the Lord. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." Disney tried to spark some extra magic this week, holding an announcement-heavy quarterly earnings call on Wednesday. Not only did a strong 2024 earnings forecast and a 50% boost to its cash dividend have investors whistling while they worked, but the entertainment giant revealed some giant entertainment plans too. A November theater release for Moana 2, extended cut of Taylor Swift's Eras Tour coming to Disney+, a Disney Universe inside Fortnite for the gamers, Finally, sports fans everywhere should clear space for 2 new apps. Disney announced that it's planning to launch a standalone, over-the-top ESPN streaming service in fall 2025, and is teaming up with Fox, Fox Sports, and Warner Bros. Discovery, TNT, to launch a massive, yet-to-be-named sports streaming platform this fall. Mickey's War Fox Sports? Here's a first to consider when you're trying to keep track of all of your streaming subscriptions and viewing options. So whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10, verse 31.
Hey, it's Kathleen with The Pour Over. What if I told you there was a resource for Christians to learn about what's happening in Israel and Gaza? Today's episode is sponsored by the podcast A Jew and a Gentile Discuss, and it is that resource. Hosts Carly and Ezra are diving into a new mini-series tackling questions like, what does it mean for Christians and Jews to be unified? And how can Christians pray for the people in this situation? All from a biblical perspective. Check out A Jew and a Gentile Discuss wherever you listen to podcasts. I highly recommend it.
In other brews, here's a rapid round of updates. Special counsel Robert Hur has ended his investigation into President Biden's handling of classified documents without bringing charges, but with a harsh public report. He concluded Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen, but noted a jury may find reasonable doubt because Biden came across as a well-meaning, elderly man with a poor memory. After 2 delays and internet blackouts, Pakistan finally held elections for the 266 members of its lower house of parliament yesterday. Once elected, these officials will select the next prime minister. Despite his enduring popularity, previous Prime Minister Imran Khan won't be eligible. The former cricket star is serving more than 30 years in prison on corruption charges. He maintains his innocence. All 5 Marines who went missing during a training flight near San Diego on Tuesday have been confirmed dead. The Super Stallion helicopter went dark as it carried the crew home through the mountains during California's historic storm. The military found the remote crash site Wednesday, and efforts to recover the fallen Marines' remains are underway. For the first time in over 20 years, Mexico has overtaken China as the leading source of imported goods in the U.S. Figures released Wednesday show a 5% increase in the value of goods imported from our southern amigo in 2023 compared to 2022, whereas Chinese imports fell by 20%. The shift reflects America's growing preference for closer and friendlier partners. Last night, Tucker Carlson released a much-hyped interview with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Critics say Carlson is promoting Kremlin talking points, while Carlson says he's not encouraging you to agree, only to be informed. Putin has denied interview requests with Western media outlets since the war with Ukraine began. Putin's spokesperson said Carlson was tapped because of his differing position. And that's all we have for today. Thanks so much for listening. If you're listening on the Apple Podcasts app, give us a 5-star rating and drop a review. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow and hit the notification bell to never miss a new episode. We appreciate your support and hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Most social media sells your data, peppers you with ads, and curates divisive content. Not Tuvu. Tuvu is wholesome social media built and moderated with the whole family in mind. Choose social media that uplifts rather than drains. Check out Tuvu, that's Tuvu, at the link in our show notes.